Jaden Smith would have gone missing based on the incident in the home where Jaden Smith and the child was left unsupervised. And that would have been a perfect case for the Child Development Agency. So the medical doctor that would have seen the child and the social worker at the Mandeville Hospital that would have been responsible for such case. To bring such information to the Child Development Agency, who would have now opened the Jaden Smith case. Remember, I told you earlier that Jaden Smith would have had an open case. So where is Jaden Smith? Many persons have questions. Where is Jaden Smith? In whose presence is Jaden Smith? Is Jaden Smith safe? Is Jaden Smith okay? Is Jaden Smith happy? Is Jaden Smith going to school? Did Jaden Smith have a wonderful birthday? Is Jaden Smith having a joyous and happy Christmas? With all those questions on our heart, on our lips, in our mind, or amongst, within our conversations, I'm sure many of us as parents and Jamaicans are seeking for the answer, where is Jaden Smith? And if Jaden Smith is alive, who will come to the public, to the concerned Jamaicans and residents, parents, and concerned individuals regarding the disappearance of Jaden Smith? In Jamaica, many children are missing, and daily we hear reports of missing children. But I do believe that the missing Jaden Smith story is not your normal typical story of a missing child. But I continue to believe that the Jaden Smith story will be one of those stories that will rewrite the laws and legislations that govern the protection of our children in Jamaica. Why? As I read each time, the Joint Select Committee of Parliament's meeting that was held in the years 2017 and 2018, and I looked deeply into the Acts, Section 44 and Section 45 stands out very strong, to which I conclude that if Jaden Smith was to be known, or his whereabouts was to be known of, who will be the person to present such case to Jamaica? Why? Because the Jaden Smith story was one that went viral, was one that went public, and was one that was launched as a search in the very environment surrounding communities and town from which he's from. One that involved students from his high school, teachers, principal, and staff. One that involved even the Mandeville police station, giving its support with police officers searching for this missing 12-year-old child. But suddenly, ladies and gentlemen, we all would have suddenly felt the silence, the hush-hush, the no comment, the no report. Not to mention the visit of the police commissioner of Jamaica to the Manchester High School had caused many to have their ears and eyes opening, waiting for what that visit was all about. And many persons are still upset and angry why the police from the Mandeville police station are not giving their updated report regarding their investigation into the missing Jaden Smith. But a few days ago, or we can almost say a week ago, the superintendent for the Mandeville police station had come forth in what I conclude as a report in 3 words: alive and well. The 3 words are alive and well. And I personally continue to ask the question, if the investigation into the missing 12-year-old Jayden Smith is alive and well, is Jayden Smith, the individual, the subject, alive and well? Well, since we have no answer from the superintendent of police regarding if Jayden Smith is alive and well, I can only present to you what I know from my readings of the Child Care Protection Act and ask the question, is Jayden Smith in the protective care of the Child Family Protective Service Agency? Will the Child Family Protective Service Agency speak to the concerned residents and parents of Jamaica? Or is the Child Family Protective Service Agency bound, and held to the rules and regulations of the Child Care Protection Act, especially Section 44 and Section 45, where no information should be disseminated, published, or no report should be given to any reporter or media regarding a case, investigation, or a court matter regarding a child under the age of 12 under the Child Care Protection Act. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand where I'm going. I am not trying to distract anyone from searching for Jayden Smith. I am only trying to get our ears, our eyes, and our understanding open to the Child Care Protection Act that seems to be very fitting to the case of the missing 12-year-old Jayden Smith. Why am I interested, you may ask? I would have told you many stories regarding my personal background, history, and experience. I would have told you enough about living in the very community adjoining to that which Jayden Smith is from. I would have told you enough story about understanding the socio-economic conditions and had been through hardship myself, unable to take care of my children and my family, where I was visited even by the Child Development Agency representative, at least not just once, but twice. But thanks to a principal I had at the time over my children, who was able to guide me and assist me to make better ways of improving my family life and my socio-economic life. Therefore, I hope you'll understand when I say, let's not bash the principal of the Manchester High School, because under the Child Care Protection Act, this Jayden Smith life and history would not be only about the principal of the Manchester High School. No, it would also be one to which we would need to ask ourselves the question, who was the guidance counselor? Who was the therapeutic, or who was the psychologist? Who was the psychiatrist? Who was the persons? Who were the persons assigned by the Child Development Agency during the past 7 years of Jayden Smith's life? Where did I get my information from? The facts are out there. For 7 years, at least, the Child Development Agency at some point would have had great interest in Jayden Smith. But the incident that happened in the home was one that raised the red flag and would have been the last thing to break the back of the camel, as they would say, or broke the straw regarding Jayden Smith's life. Now, why would the incident in the home cause the disappearance of Jayden Smith? Why? 1. According to an interview that was done on Television Jamaica on the 14th of May 2022 on the program Smile Jamaica, the host, a well-known Jamaican host, Neville Bell, interviewed a medical doctor by the name of Dr. Marsha James from the Bustamante Hospital for Children. And this was what Dr. Marsha James said in her interview on TVJ with Neville Bell. She discussed that the hospitals report all cases of children under the age of 12 that comes into the hospital to social work department for investigation and counseling if there is suspicion or non-accidental injury or negligence. Cases are reported, said Dr. Marsha Japes, to the Child Development Agency, and the focus, she said, for doing so is on prevention of injuries due to the risks and rise in the number of cases during the COVID-19 pandemic when children were home unsupervised. Ladies and gentlemen, this interview was done on TVJ on the 14th of May 2022. That's almost 3 years before the Jaden Smith disappearance. All cases of children under the age of 12 that comes to a medical person in an hospital is reported to a social worker, and the social worker would have reported such incident or case to the Child Development Agency. From the Child Development Agency, an investigation would have been launched into how the incident happened, especially if the child was unsupervised. The investigation is not just to look at if there was a crime. The investigation focus is to prevent such case from happening. Why? Because Dr. Marshall would have given the increasing number of children in Jamaica that the hospitals and the doctors have been seeing, and all the numbers had increased over the years. Let's flash back to the Jamaica Joint Selected Committee that met in Parliament in 2017 and 2018 to revise the Child Care Protection Act. In this group of Joint Selected Committee were a number of persons, and a report of a Jamaica police officer at the rank of sergeant was brought into focus. And the police report in 2017 and 2018 would have also matched that of the medical doctors, as mentioned, by the increase in injuries of children that were seen by doctors in hospital. Now you understand the path I'm on. The missing Jaden Smith is not just about a situation that happened in a home. It's about medical doctors who have been discussing the increase in injuries to children. It would have been surrounded also about unsupervised children. And in Jaden Smith's case, Jaden and the 2-year-old child was totally unsupervised. So, why Jaden Smith would have gone missing from my research? I do believe, based on my research, based on my personal investigation, that Jaden Smith would have gone missing based on the incident in the home where Jaden Smith and the child was left unsupervised. And that would have been a perfect case for the Child Development Agency, through the medical doctor that would have seen the child and the social worker at the Mandeville Hospital that would have been responsible for such case, to bring such information to the Child Development Agency, who would have now opened the Jaden Smith case. Remember, I told you earlier that Jaden Smith would have had an open case. So where is Jaden Smith? The family did mention, or a member of the family did mention, that the search for Jaden Smith was to be called off because of the negative comments by the people on social media and by many persons in the communities that the family would come in contact with. Oh, now I would call upon my friend, my good social media friend, Mr. L.A. Lewis. Mr. L.A. Lewis, one of the first person on social media would have claimed that Jaden Smith is unalive. Come, Mr. L.A. Lewis, let's have a discussion regarding the Child Care Protection Act, because there are more proofs in the Child Care Protection Act that applies to Jaden Smith rather than an investigation into an unalive Jaden Smith. Therefore, the only public information we have regarding the investigation of Jaden Smith comes from the superintendent of police from the Mandeville police station. The investigation is alive and well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is upon that note of Dr. Marsha Japes in her interview with Neville Bell of Television Jamaica that I would have presented to you a more deep interest and encouragement to us as Jamaican citizens and residents to read the Child Care Protection Act. Let us protect our children. Is Jaden Smith protected from a court system? Is Jaden Smith protected from the critiques, the negative critiques of the public? Irrespective of all the stories out there of who saw him and when he was seen, I have a question for you. Where was Jaden Smith the Friday? But it's a question I would like to ask directly to the Child Family Protective Service Agency, which I'm sure they will not be able to answer. I'm sure they will not be able to answer. Is it that the Friday after the incident that happened the Thursday, that Jaden Smith was taken into counsel? I doubt we'll get an answer for that one. But according to the Child Care Protection Act, Jaden Smith, under the age of 12, would need to be counseled, would need to be protected, would need to be taken into state care. And if that was not done, it would have been a very sad day in Jamaica if another child was failed by the system. But I believe Jamaica, we have good social workers, great social workers, good guidance counselors, great psychologists and psychiatrists. We have great persons who are brilliant and smart. And we have a justice system in Jamaica that we can have some form of confidence in regarding the protection of our children. But the only sad part is, what happens when a public cry is made that a child goes missing? Residents and the public went searching. News media and social media have it very publicized. Shouldn't it be a situation where someone come to us, the public, concerned residents and parents, and say, we are not able to disclose where the child is nor what happened, but the child is safe, the child was found, and the child is okay? If that is not about to happen or won't happen in the case of Jaden Smith, then we can only say the search for Jaden Smith continues until someone make us known if he was found. But if Jaden Smith was found, did you know that the Child Care Protection Act also protect the secrecy or the information of the person or persons or reporter that would have brought the child in? There may be no answer to where Jaden Smith is. There may be no knowing now where Jaden Smith is. We may have to wait until Jaden Smith is 18 years of age, or if not, until the court or the Ministry of Justice make such decision. Let's protect our children. Let's take care of our children. And ladies and gentlemen, let's read the Child Care Protection Act of Jamaica in regard to protecting the rights of our children. I leave you with a part of the presentation by Dr. Marsha James, as was discussed on Television Jamaica on the 14th of May 2022.